This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
Meltzer would write that the Bret Hart-Bob Backlund title match will be on top at Survivor Series, but it'll be that Bret can only win with a sharpshooter and Backlund can only win with the chicken wing. And the only way to win is to throw in the towel, sort of reminiscent of what happened with Bob once upon a time. Owen is going to be in Backlund's corner. Davey is going to be in Bret's corner. Pretty remarkable that you guys are drawing it all together here. And they get plenty of time at Survivor Series, 35 minutes and 11 seconds. Meltzer would say little happened for the first 14 minutes because with no holds over and nobody really selling holds and the announcer Gorilla Monsoon even killing holds, saying things like, "I've never seen anyone submit to an arm bar." For the fans at home and no pinfall combinations were being done, really nothing happened. But then finally they get cooking with gas and it gets a 2-star rating. Meltzer would write, Backlund got Bret in the chicken wing and held it for more than 9 minutes with a split screen camera showing Owen fake turning babyface, having sympathy for Bret. Hart kept begging his parents to do something, even crying, overacting really badly in contrast with the parents who didn't seem all that concerned. At one point, Helen Hart was about to throw the towel in, but Stu snatched it from him. Finally, Helen did throw the towel in and Bret was helped out of the ring. Owen, who had faked turning face, then celebrated and tried to do a Ric Flair interview after the match. The best part of the entire segment was Vince McMahon and Gorilla Monsoon's indignation at what Owen had done. That was awesome. 2 stars. I know that the match itself was not great, and you may disagree on that, but I sort of liked the way the finish was pulled off. What'd you think?
Well, the match was a very good wrestling match. So to that point, that just goes to prove my point. If you don't like wrestling, no, you wouldn't have liked that match. Because that's what they did in it. And they told a story that did bring the audience around. It did bring the audience to a crescendo for the finish. And that's what you do. It's the name of the game.
We've already covered the Diesel win over Backlund on the very recent Diesel episode available in the archives. But did Backlund know when he won at Survivor Series, you're dropping it 3 days later? Or do you guys tell him that after the fact?
No, he knew.
And you've also mentioned, when we did that Diesel episode, that Backlund said he would never take the jackknife powerbomb ever again after taking that one at Madison Square Garden. And I think somewhere I read in an interview that Kevin Nash was attributed to saying that to sell the impact of that jackknife powerbomb, Backlund crawled on his hands and knees all the way to the dressing room to really get over to the fans the devastation of that move. Do you remember that being the case? Because that's tremendous.
Yeah, and it was Bob's dedication to getting Diesel over. That was Bob's job. So Bob did that, but at the same time, Bob didn't like the way that jackknife was delivered and wasn't keen on taking it again because he didn't feel that it was safe.
Let's talk about the great news that comes down the pike. In December, Meltzer would report another surprise is the report that the Survivor Series did between a 1.2 and a 1.4, which would be a huge increase from the previous year and would have to be attributed, at least for one night, that Bob Backlund was marketable since he was the main item pushed leading into the show. It's pretty remarkable when you think about it, that this character got over as well as it did and popped a buy rate for you that exceeded all expectations.
Well, that's what you want all of them to do.
It is fun.
That was a testament to Bob and Bret both.
There's lots of rumor and innuendo out there that when you said, hey, there are, some guys in the locker room who thought, oh man, we're pushing this old man or whatever it may be. A lot of that has been attributed to the Clique. But you said earlier that Sean liked working with Bob. maybe they liked working with Bob. They just didn't like that Bob might have a higher placement on the card than them. Fair to say?
Not really. Again, Sean's a worker's worker, and Sean loved being able to go out and work and trade holds with Bob Backlund and be able to tell that story. I don't think that Razor and Diesel shared that same love of going out and working with Bob. Different style, different everything. And so I think, it's just different as far as how they viewed it. But there were talent. We had a lot of young talent in the locker room that were like, hey, when am I going to get my break? And this old guy's getting my break. Like you say, Bobby wasn't that old.
It's really remarkable when you think about, how well he was received here in just that brief moment of time. He still wound up being voted the best heel in the company in 94. And when you think about that, it was just for a handful of months. I do want to mention, since we brought up the Clique, I think there's a famous story out there that the Clique hated working with Bob Backlund so much that allegedly they convinced Vince McMahon to hire Dick Murdock as Bob Backlund's second. So the Clique members who had to work with Bob could find a way to do comedy spots with Dick Murdock. Fact or fiction?
Well, Dick was brought in basically to try and help teach guys. And he had talked about, just being able to come in and do some different things. And yeah, the Clique definitely wanted to do stuff with Dick Murdock like most guys did. Dick, hell of a fucking hand, and did some crazy shit.
It does feel like Backlund's going to start to be phased down pretty quickly. Of course, Bret needs his win back. But Rumble 95 would see Bob interfere in the Diesel Bret Hart title match, and Backlund never would get a return match on TV against Diesel. And then he has, Bret attack him from the aisle for his entrance into the Rumble, and Backlund gets in and is immediately eliminated by Lex Luger. Why don't you think we saw some sort of a return match ever of any significance with Diesel and Backlund?
I don't think anybody wanted to see it. I don't think anybody would believe that Bob would have been able to take the championship from Diesel at that time. And it was just time to move on. That was oil and water.
Well, here's the other thing I was thinking when I was doing my research for this show. Why not at the Rumble do a rematch from Survivor Series? Why not do Bret Backlund there? It feels like Bret would have rather worked with someone else at WrestleMania, or do I have that wrong? Did he feel like that was the better story? Did he campaign for Backlund at WrestleMania instead of Royal Rumble?
Not necessarily. It just was the better story, and it was save it for WrestleMania and be able to tell your stories as we go on. We're still in the era of not doing a pay-per-view every single month. So you wanted your pay-per-views to be different than the live events, and you wanted to have your blow-offs at WrestleMania and the bigger events.
Some fun stuff happening here in January. There's a King's Court that's going to air with Bob Backlund as the guest, and Backlund's going to say he's only going to release the chicken wing if his opponent says, "I quit, Mr. Backlund." And then he turns to Lawler and puts the hold on, and Lawler says, "I quit, Mr. Backlund." And of course, Bob breaks it. And as Bob goes to leave, Lawler makes a comment about Backlund, who then runs back in the ring, puts the hold on Lawler again. And this time Lawler screamed, "Look, Bret Hart's over there." And Backlund immediately releases the hold to chase a non-existent Bret Hart. This is fun stuff. And we're marching towards WrestleMania. As a producer, as somebody working the gorilla position and in creative and behind the scenes here, really getting in the nitty gritty of these characters being developed. This had to be a blast working with Bob here.
It was, because it was, what are we going to do to display this unique personality with Bob this week? And every week was different. So it became challenging. It kind of became that, where's Waldo? What the hell are you going to do with him this week?
Well, you know what's coming. WrestleMania 11. They get plenty of time. Not nearly as much as before, but enough to tell the story. Roughly 10 minutes, but it's with a special guest referee, Roddy Piper, who's going to get a big pop. Of course, Backlund gets the chicken wing on, but Bret reverses it for a great pop. And then Piper keeps asking Backlund if he wants to quit. And about 9.5 minutes or so, Backlund grunts and Piper rules, "Hey, that was a submission." And after the match, Backlund keeps this crazed look and keeps telling Jim Ross that he had seen the light. I don't know why, but I enjoyed this much more than Dave did. He gave it a 1.25 stars. What'd you think?
I thought it was tremendous. Again, I enjoy that style of match and that style of wrestling from time to time because it's different. And those are two masters of their craft that made you interested, made it fun.
You know, it's funny because I've watched this show, that WrestleMania 11 show, a lot, and I used to not like the match, but now I guess because I've grown to be such a fan of Backlund, I just like his character here. And I do want to ask though, why the need to put Roddy in as the special guest referee? Did you feel like, and obviously at 11, we've talked about that show before, you feel like you need to load it up with as many celebrities as you can, you know, whether it's McCarthy or Turturro or Jonathan Taylor Thomas or, you know, whatever. You got a ton of quote unquote celebrities. Did you just feel like this match needed more star power? So let's put Roddy in there.
Yeah. I mean, just from a whole presentation. Yes. It colored it up. Definitely.
How was Bret with working with Bob here? I mean, we see Shawn and Diesel working for the title. We see a football player in Bam Bam Bigelow going on last. He's working with Bob Backlund and they throw Roddy Piper in there. Does Bret feel like you guys are losing confidence in him here, you think?
I don't know that Bret was really in love with it, but he did enjoy working with Bob and being able to go out and get the crowd. And I don't know. I don't know if it was Bret's favorite opponent, but they did some good business and had some great matches.
This wound up being Backlund's last WrestleMania match. Of course, he did 9, 10, and now here 11. And it's going to be the last singles match he has on pay-per-view for the WWF. A few weeks later, Meltzer would quote Bret Hart's Calgary Sun column, where he's talking about Joe Montana's NFL retirement. He says, "At the same time, I was happy to see Montana go out on his terms, at the top of his game, not crippled or dismembered, with class and no regrets. I hope I'm able to go out the same way and not outstay my welcome like Bob Backlund, Ric Flair, and others who sadly have besmirched their once shining reputations by hanging around longer than they should have." Is this something that's on your radar? I mean, is this Bret just trying to work here a little bit, or was he legitimately upset with working with Bob and this is sort of a shooting deal here?
That's part of the storyline.
Well, it's fun because then we see Backlund start campaigning. Yeah, he's going to run for presidency. Who came up with that idea? How was it presented? Because this too is great TV.
Vince thought that Bob would make a great presidential candidate. Pitched it to Bob. Bob loved it, and Bob took it seriously was the other great part about it. Bob took it as an opportunity to have fun and get the hell out there with his character.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.